Rain lashed against the worn awning of Sweet Dreams Bakery, blurring the cheerful hand-painted sign. Inside, steam from the espresso machine mingled with the rich scent of cinnamon and warm bread, a fragile shield against the pre-dawn chill. Through the glass, a lone figure, Leo, kneaded dough with a quiet intensity, his movements precise, almost meditative. His young daughter, Chloe, already at the counter, meticulously arranging sprinkles on miniature cupcakes, her small face alight with an innocent joy that belied the struggles her father carried. This small, struggling sanctuary, built on grief and love, was about to be put to the ultimate test by a woman accustomed to destroying dreams, not savoring them. The blue glow of the pre-dawn hour still clung to the kitchen windows of Sweet Dreams Bakery. Inside, a symphony of gentle clatters and low hums filled the space. The rhythmic thud of dough meeting wood, the soft whir of the mixer, the faint hiss of steam escaping a proofing cabinet. Leo, 38, stood at a battered steel table, his forearms dusted with flour, his hands working a generous mass of brioche dough. His movements were a dance, learned over years, precise and economical. His dark hair, perpetually in need of a trim, fell across his forehead as he bent over his work, his brow furrowed in concentration. There was a quiet intensity about him, a man lost in his craft, perhaps because it was the only place he felt truly present. A faint clatter from the oven drew his gaze. He pulled out a tray of perfectly risen croissants, their golden brown skins shimmering with melted butter, the buttery scent filling the air, rich and comforting. He inhaled deeply, a small, almost imperceptible sigh escaping his lips. His eyes drifted to a framed photograph propped on a shelf above the mixing station. It showed a beaming woman, her eyes sparkling with laughter, her arm looped around a younger, unburdened Leo, his own smile wide and genuine. The image caught the warm glow of the oven, momentarily illuminating the happiness that once was, and the quiet ache that now remained. He blinked, the moment passing, and turned back to the cooling croissants. His wife, Sarah, had loved croissants more than anything. Baking them now was a ritual, a silent conversation with a ghost. By 6 a.m., the bakery's storefront was bathed in a warm, inviting glow, a beacon against the still dark street. The aroma of fresh coffee and pastries spilled onto the sidewalk, beckoning early risers. Soft jazz, a little crackly from the old speakers, mingled with the gentle clatter of ceramic mugs. Then, like a burst of sunlight, Chloe, 8, tumbled into the room from the back stairs, her wild brown curls still tousled from sleep, rubbing sleep from her bright, curious eyes. "Morning, Daddy. Did you make the lemon tarts? My favorite." Her voice was a melody, cutting through the quiet hum of Leo's grief. Leo, wiping his hands on his apron, offered a rare, soft smile. "Of course, sunshine, your favorites always come first." He watched as Chloe, already donning her tiny apron, expertly began arranging miniature cupcakes on a tiered stand, her small fingers surprisingly nimble. She greeted Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly regular with a kind, crinkled face, with a bright, uninhibited smile. "Guess what? I dreamed I flew to the moon on a croissant." Mrs. Jenkins chuckled, her eyes warm. Leo, meanwhile, wrestled with the antique cash register, its bell refusing to chime properly. "Come on, old friend, not today," he muttered, giving it a frustrated tap. Chloe was his reason, his anchor, the constant spark in his muted world. Every lemon tart, every perfectly proofed loaf was for her, a small piece of the shattered dream he was still trying to glue back together. He felt a quiet, fierce determination to keep this place, this memory, this life for her. Miles away, high above the bustling city, the 30th floor of Petrova Culinary Group headquarters gleamed with cold steel and polished glass. It was 9 a.m., and Anya Petrova, 40, a woman whose impeccably tailored navy suit seemed an extension of her own formidable will, presided over a board meeting. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a severe knot, her green eyes sharp and unyielding as she surveyed the digital projections dancing across a massive screen. Images of struggling local restaurants, their balance sheets laid bare, flashed before her. Her team presented acquisition targets, detailing their financial weaknesses, their untapped potential for optimization. Anya dissected each proposal with surgical precision, her voice low and modulated, yet capable of cutting like a diamond. "Sentimentality doesn't turn a profit, Mr. Davies," she stated, dismissing a proposal for a quaint bistro that had been lauded for its community charm. "We acquire assets, not aspirations. Her assistant, a young man named Robert, shifted nervously. But Ms. Petrova, the whimsical plate, has a strong local following. Anya's gaze, devoid of emotion, sliced through him, which means nothing if their overheads aren't optimized. Next target, Sweet Dreams Bakery. A photograph of Leo's humble storefront, the hand-painted sign, a stark contrast to the sterile boardroom, appeared on the screen. Anya felt a detached satisfaction in her work, a sense of absolute control. Her success, built on years of ruthless efficiency and a relentless drive to prove herself, was her armor, shielding her from the vulnerabilities of a childhood marked by lack. She believed emotions were a liability, a weakness to be purged from any viable business model. Anya's sleek black car pulled up discreetly a block away from Sweet Dreams Bakery late that morning. She surveyed the worn awning, the slightly faded paint, the small crowd inside, a stark contrast to the gleaming high-rises she usually frequented. She was dressed in deliberately understated but expensive casual wear, designer jeans, a cashmere sweater, a uniform designed to blend in while still subtly asserting her status. Pulling out a small, leather-bound notebook and a slim pen, she adjusted her sunglasses, a subtle barrier between her and the world she was observing. She noted the foot traffic, the type of clientele, the general upkeep. Every detail was a data point. Her motivation was purely business: evaluate, identify weaknesses, prepare an offer that would be impossible to refuse. She expected to find a predictable, mediocre operation, another inefficient small business ripe for her group's streamlining. The scent hit her first, a wave of warm cinnamon, yeasty bread, and rich coffee that wrapped around her, pulling her in. Anya stepped inside, her initial assessment of predictable faltering. The atmosphere was unexpectedly vibrant, a buzzing hum of happy chatter and the clatter of mugs. Sunlight streamed through the front window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. She moved to the counter, her eyes quickly scanning the displays. Before she could articulate her order, a small figure darted from behind a table. Chloe, busy wiping down a stray crumb, looked up and offered a spontaneous, uninhibited smile. "Hi, welcome to Sweet Dreams. Can I help you?" Her voice was bright, inviting, a genuine warmth Anya hadn't encountered in years. Anya was slightly taken aback by the child's directness. She managed a stiff, almost imperceptible nod. "Just a coffee, black, and a croissant, please." She watched Leo, still moving with quiet focus behind the counter, a flour smudge on his cheek. He handed her the coffee and a croissant on a simple white plate. Chloe, meanwhile, leaned closer, her eyes wide. "Are you new here? My daddy makes the best croissants." Anya managed a forced smile. They seem adequate. The lie felt strange, a tiny prick of guilt, the first crack in her carefully constructed professional facade. She took a bite of the croissant. Her eyes widened, almost imperceptibly. It was surprisingly good, crisp on the outside, feather-light and buttery within, a delicate balance of flavors, far from adequate. She felt a subtle curiosity about Leo, his quiet demeanor hinting at something beneath the surface of this unassuming bakery. Anya returned to Sweet Dreams the next day, a compulsion she couldn't entirely explain. The memory of that croissant, its unexpected excellence, had lingered. Today, she noticed a new item on display: a delicate pear and almond tart, its golden crust intricately latticed, each slice a small work of art. She ordered it, her eyes meeting Leo's across the counter. He, perhaps sensing her discerning eye, served it with quiet dignity, a subtle challenge in his reserved posture. Anya took a bite. Her eyes widened again, this time with a clear, professional admiration. The tart was sublime, the sweetness of ripe pear perfectly balanced by the nutty almond, a hint of spice, all encased in a flaky, buttery crust that melted on the tongue. This wasn't merely good home baking. This was artistry, a subtle complexity of flavors that belonged in a much more acclaimed, Michelin-starred establishment. This is exceptional," she said, her voice betraying a hint of genuine surprise. "Where did you learn to bake like this?" Leo shrugged, avoiding her gaze as he wiped down the counter. "Just years of practice. My wife, she taught me a lot." He glanced, almost imperceptibly, at the framed photograph on the shelf, a wistful look momentarily softening his guarded expression. Anya's gaze followed his, a quiet understanding dawning. "This isn't merely practice," she countered, her voice firm. "This is talent. Wasted here." She almost said wasted on this place, but caught herself, a flicker of guilt. She recognized true passion, a connection to the craft that transcended mere business. It connected to a forgotten part of herself, a simpler time before food became about numbers. Chloe, ever the perceptive one, approached Anya, who was still savoring the tart. The little girl, innocent and uninhibited, noticed the genuine appreciation in Anya's eyes. She offered a small, brightly decorated cupcake. "Want a cupcake? It's my special design." Anya hesitated, then accepted the tiny treat, a genuine smile forming on her lips as she looked at Chloe's eager face. "Thank you, Chloe. It's beautiful." Chloe beamed, then launched into a story, her voice bright. "Daddy always bakes with his heart. That's why his pastries are the best. Mommy and Daddy were going to open a big fancy restaurant, but then Mommy got sick." Chloe's voice softened, a hint of sadness touching her words. Anya felt a pang of unexpected tenderness, the child's innocent words cutting through her corporate armor. "Bakes with his heart." It was a phrase Anya had long banished from her professional lexicon, yet it resonated deeply. Chloe's natural connection to her open sharing of vulnerability, struck a chord, reminding Anya of her own lost childhood simplicity and the genuine passion she once had for food before it became merely a commodity. A growing guilt about her true intentions for the bakery began to gnaw at her. Later that afternoon, rain had begun to fall again, a gentle, persistent drizzle that blurred the edges of the city. Anya sat in her sleek black car, parked discreetly down the street, watching Leo and Chloe close up the bakery. She saw Leo patiently help Chloe put on her bright yellow raincoat, his large hands gentle as he fastened the toggles. Then, with an easy strength, he lifted her onto his shoulders, Chloe's small hands clutching his head, her laughter echoing faintly, even through the closed car windows, as they disappeared up the back stairs to their small apartment above the shop. The scene was tender, full of unspoken love, a universe contained within their small embrace. Anya watched them go, a profound sense of longing settling in her chest. She saw their simple life, devoid of luxury but rich in connection, a stark contrast to her own hyper-successful, yet emotionally barren, existence. The palpable warmth of their relationship, the deep love between father and daughter, stirred something within her, something she hadn't acknowledged in years. She was torn between her professional directive to acquire and a burgeoning personal desire to protect this fragile happiness. She was beginning to question her own ruthless metrics of success. Anya found herself returning to Sweet Dreams daily, a routine she justified as ongoing market research. But the truth was, she found herself drawn to the quiet warmth of the place, the genuine smiles, the scent of fresh bread that reminded her of something lost. Their interactions grew less formal, more comfortable. Leo, though still reserved, found himself making small talk with her, something he hadn't done with a stranger in years. "Chloe says you have a new favorite, the blackberry scone?" he'd ask, a hint of a smile touching his lips. Anya would return it, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "She's a very observant little girl. And yes, it's excellent." She asked about Chloe's school, her hobbies, genuinely interested in the details of their lives. Leo, though still wary, slowly began to trust her quiet presence, sensing a shift beneath her polished exterior. "You're here a lot," he commented one morning, a rare attempt at humor. "Not that I'm complaining." "Good for business." Anya met his gaze. "I find the atmosphere conducive to clear thinking." She paused, a slight hesitation, a hint of something more profound in her words. She was finding a sense of belonging, a warmth she never knew she craved, a stark contrast to her corporate life. Her internal conflict about the bakery's acquisition intensified, the guilt now a constant, low thrum beneath her carefully maintained composure. A week later, back in the glacial expanse of the Petrova Culinary Group's boardroom, the Sweet Dreams Bakery projection once again filled the screen. Anya's team, accustomed to her decisive nature, presented their updated financials. But Anya found herself defending the bakery with uncharacteristic fervor. "It's not just a bakery, it's a culinary institution in its neighborhood. Its brand loyalty is off the charts," she argued, surprising even herself with the passion in her voice. Victor, a shrewd board member and her chief competitor, leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. Miss Petrova, the bakery has potential, but it's a small fish. Are we going to waste resources on sentiment? He pressed. Or are you just getting soft? Anya's jaw tightened. It's not sentiment, Victor. It's a unique product. It requires a different approach. The barb about her losing her edge stung, cutting close to the bone. She was fighting against her own corporate nature, against decades of ingrained belief in ruthless efficiency. That same evening, as Leo meticulously cleaned the bakery after closing, a sense of unease settled over him. Mrs. Jenkins, lingering over a last cup of tea, had mentioned rumors of large culinary chains buying up local businesses, expressing concern for sweet dreams. "Oh, Leo, I heard that Petrova Group is buying up all the little places. You know, those big chains. Don't let them take our sweet dreams." Leo had forced a chuckle. "Don't worry, Mrs. Jenkins. Nobody's taking our bakery." But a seed of worry had been planted. After she left, he noticed a discarded newspaper on a table. The headline blared about Anya Petrova, CEO of Petrova Culinary Group, and her aggressive acquisition strategy. Her picture, sharp and unsmiling, was prominently displayed. Leo picked it up, his eyes narrowing. It was times her asterisk. The woman who had been a quiet, almost comforting presence in his bakery for weeks. His face turned to stone. The smiles, the pleasantries, the genuine interest in Chloe, it had all been an act. Betrayal, sharp and bitter, curdled in his gut. His protective instincts, for Chloe and for the bakery, kicked in with a vengeance. He felt a quiet, simmering anger at being manipulated, his fragile trust shattered. A few days later, Chloe was unusually quiet. Her morning energy, usually a boundless force, was muted. "Daddy, my tummy feels funny, and I'm just sleepy." Her small voice was barely a whisper. Leo, serving a few early customers, felt a flicker of parental worry. He touched her forehead. It felt a little warm. Just a little cold, pumpkin. "Daddy will make you some special tea." He tried to sound reassuring, to dismiss his rising concern, but an internal alarm bell, faint but insistent, began to ring. He remembered Sarah's initial symptoms, the insidious, creeping exhaustion that had disguised itself as something benign, until it was too late. He pushed the thought away, focusing on Chloe's pale face, his heart beginning to beat with a quiet, terrible fear. The doctor's office waiting room was sterile and quiet, the fluorescent lights stark against the muted tones of the walls. Leo sat rigidly, holding Chloe's small, warm hand, trying to distract her with a silly story about a flying croissant. But his own mind raced, fear a cold knot in his stomach. The doctor, a kind-faced woman whose eyes held a distinct somberness, entered, carrying a file. "Mr. Hayes," she began, her voice soft but grave. "Chloe's blood tests show markers for a very specific type of autoimmune disease. It's treatable, but the therapies are intensive and costly." The news hit Leo like a physical blow. He clutched Chloe tighter, feeling her small, fragile body against his. His voice was barely a whisper. "Costly? How costly? What are we talking about?" The doctor's gaze softened with pity. "Significant, and it needs to start immediately." Leo's world, already a fragile construct of flour and grief, crumbled around him. A wave of utter devastation washed over him, the familiar helplessness he'd felt with Sarah resurfacing with chilling clarity. Panic, cold and sharp, began to set in, but he forced himself to remain outwardly calm for Chloe's sake. His fear for her now dwarfed all other concerns, all other emotions. That night, long after Chloe had fallen into a fitful sleep in their small apartment upstairs, Leo sat alone in the dim light of the bakery kitchen. The ovens were cold, the air still and heavy with the ghosts of past aromas. He was hunched over the bakery accounts, the meager numbers mocking him. Beside the ledger lay the doctor's estimate for Chloe's treatment, a figure that might as well have been in the millions. The gap between what he had and what Chloe needed was insurmountable. He ran a trembling hand through his flour-dusted hair, despair etched on every line of his face. His eyes, red-rimmed and hollow, drifted to the framed photograph of Sarah. Her beaming smile, once a source of comfort, now felt like a silent accusation. He'd failed her, failed their dream, and now he was failing their daughter. A silent, gut-wrenching sob escaped him, shaking his shoulders. He buried his face in his hands, tears streaming, the quiet sobs echoing in the empty bakery. His motivation had shifted from mere survival to a desperate, clawing need to save his daughter, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice. He felt utterly trapped, alone, and overwhelmed by a hopelessness that threatened to consume him whole. Word of Chloe's illness, like a dark cloud, quickly spread through the tight-knit neighborhood. A few days later, the bakery was a flurry of hushed conversations and worried glances. Mrs. Jenkins and other regulars brought small casseroles, cards, and tearful hugs, their faces etched with concern for little Chloe. Leo struggled to maintain a brave face, offering weak smiles and mumbled thanks, his heart heavy with a despair he couldn't hide. Anya, returning to the bakery, overheard the hushed conversations about Chloe's critical condition and Leo's crushing financial struggles. Her heart sank, a sickening lurch in her gut. She stopped abruptly, listening, her face hardening with a complex mixture of shock and a dawning, terrible realization. The human cost of her acquisition plans, once an abstract concept, had suddenly become acutely, painfully real. Anya saw Chloe, not just as a charming child, but as someone in dire, desperate need. Her guilt, already a heavy burden, intensified, making the prospect of acquiring sweet dreams for profit feel monstrous. Back in her sterile office, Anya moved with a new, fierce resolve. She summoned her legal team, her voice low and firm, but with an underlying tremor they rarely heard. She instructed them to draft a new acquisition offer for Sweet Dreams Bakery, one that would include a substantial, undeniable fund for Chloe's medical treatment. Ensure the offer includes a separate, irrevocable trust for Chloe's medical care, she commanded, her eyes fixed on the city skyline. And make it generous. Her team looked confused. Miss Petrova, this significantly overvalues the asset. It doesn't make financial sense, her lawyer ventured nervously. Anya turned, her gaze like cold steel, though her hands, hidden beneath her desk, trembled slightly. It makes every kind of sense that matters. Just do it. Her motivation was now irrevocably linked to saving Chloe, a complex mix of guilt, genuine concern, and a burning desire for a redemption she hadn't known she craved. Victor, the board member, called, his voice laced with suspicion. Robert tells me you're drafting an unprecedented offer for that little bakery. Are you truly so naive as to believe such a purchase would be financially sound, Anya? Or are you finally letting sentiment get the better of you? Anya gripped her phone, her knuckles white. I am making a decision that aligns with the values of this company, Victor. A decision you wouldn't understand. But the truth was, she was fighting against her own corporate nature, and for the first time in years, she felt a profound, exhilarating fear. Anya hung up, her chest tight, the receiver clattering softly into its cradle. Her decision, impulsive and deeply personal, felt both terrifying and profoundly right. She'd always believed in calculated risks, but this was different. This was a leap of faith into a world she had meticulously avoided. She looked at the city spread out below, the myriad lights blurring into a meaningless pattern. For the first time, her empire felt hollow. She thought of Chloe's bright eyes, Leo's quiet dignity, the comforting scent of yeast and cinnamon. These were the things that mattered. These were the metrics she suddenly understood. Later that evening, the Sweet Dreams Bakery was quiet, the last customer gone, the sweet aroma of baking lingering in the air like a memory. Leo, exhausted and defeated, was wiping down the counter, his movements slow and heavy. The silence was broken by the gentle chime of the door. Anya entered, no longer dressed in her understated casual wear, but in a severe black suit, her hair pulled back, her face bare, stark and vulnerable. She was no longer undercover, she was confronting her truth. She walked directly to the counter, placing a thick, official-looking folder on the polished wood. Leo, I'm Anya Petrova, she began, her voice steady but with an undeniable tremor. My company. We were planning to acquire your bakery. Leo's wiping motions ceased. He looked up, his eyes, previously filled with a bottomless despair, now narrowed with a terrible recognition. I recognized you, he said, his voice tight, choked with suppressed anger and betrayal. So, all the smiles, the pleasantries, it was all part of the act. His words, sharp and bitter, sliced through the quiet air. Anya flinched, but held his gaze. Initially, yes, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But then, she trailed off, genuinely conflicted, the stark admission feeling like a physical pain. The weight of his anger, The accusation in his eyes was almost unbearable. Anya pushed the folder across the counter towards him. The offer includes a comprehensive medical trust for Chloe. It will cover everything. Leo's gaze dropped to the document, his eyes widening at the figures, at the sheer generosity of the medical fund. It was enough to save Chloe. His heart hammered in his chest, a frantic drum against his ribs. The possibility of saving his daughter, of pulling her back from the edge, was suddenly, impossibly real. But it came from her, the woman who had deceived him, who now offered a lifeline in exchange for his wife's legacy. He felt a surge of white-hot rage, mixed with the chilling desperation of his situation. "You want to buy my daughter's life?" he demanded, his voice trembling with a raw, primal anger he rarely showed. "Buy my bakery, my wife's dream, from a desperate man? Is that how you do business, Miss Petrova? Feeding on the weak?" His accusation hung in the air, a devastating blow. Anya recoiled as if struck. "No, it's not like that. I want to help." Her voice was raw, pleading, "Help or clear your conscience." Leo countered, his eyes burning with accusation. He hated the choice he faced. Every fiber of his being rebelled against taking anything from her, especially under these circumstances. But Chloe. His daughter's pale face flashed in his mind, her small hand in his at the doctor's office. His paternal instinct, a fierce, protective fire, battled with his pride, his grief, his profound sense of betrayal. He felt utterly cornered, trapped, the weight of his decision crushing him. Anya, meanwhile, felt Leo's words cut deep, a painful truth. She was times trying to clear her conscience, to find a sliver of redemption. His anger was justified, and it tore at her, making her desperate to make amends, but knowing that her actions were tainted, perhaps beyond repair. All she could focus on was Chloe. She had to make this right for Chloe. The next morning, before the first rays of dawn touched the city, Anya stood alone outside Sweet Dreams Bakery. The air was crisp, quiet. She had made a profound decision. She called her legal team, her voice firm, resolute. "Separate the medical trust. It's a personal donation, not part of any acquisition. The bakery deal is off the table unless Leo approaches us." Her lawyer, bewildered, tried to argue. "Miss Petrova, this is highly unorthodox. It sets a dangerous precedent for future negotiations." Victor, reached on his private line, was furious. "Anya, what are you doing? This is insanity. You're throwing away millions for sentimentality." Anya's response was cold, unwavering. "Some things are worth more than money, Victor. You wouldn't understand." A profound sense of liberation washed over her, a shedding of the corporate persona she'd worn for so long. She was choosing humanity over profit, love over power, and in that choice, she found a quiet courage she hadn't known she possessed. She wouldn't buy Leo's bakery, not like this. She wouldn't buy his trust. She would simply offer help and hope. Mid-morning, Leo was serving a few customers, his movements still mechanical, his mind miles away, still reeling from Anya's offer. The bakery door chimed again. Anya entered, looking less formal, her black suit replaced by a simple gray dress, her face bare, vulnerable. She walked directly to Leo, placing a single, thin document on the counter. "Chloe's treatment is covered, completely. From me. Not for the bakery. Just for her." Leo stared at the paper, then at Anya. Disbelief warred with a dawning hope in his eyes. "Why? After everything?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Anya looked at him, her gaze unwavering, her emerald eyes full of genuine remorse. "Because Chloe deserves a chance. And you deserve an honest choice. I was wrong to approach it any other way. I'm truly sorry, Leo." An overwhelming wave of relief washed over Leo, so profound it almost buckled his knees. His anger, previously a consuming fire, began to dissipate, replaced by a bewildering mix of gratitude and confusion. He saw Anya, not as the ice queen he judged her to be, but as a vulnerable woman capable of immense kindness, of a selfless act that defied all the logic of her world. His heart, long hardened by grief and suspicion, began to thaw. Anya, in turn, felt a deep sense of peace, a weight lifted from her shoulders. She had finally been truly honest, offering help without expectation, purely out of compassion. It was a profound release. The hospital room, a few weeks later, was bright, filled with the soft beeping of machines and the faint scent of antiseptic. But within, a fragile new hope bloomed. Chloe was undergoing her intensive treatment, but her spirit, though weakened, was slowly, steadily returning. Anya was often there, a quiet, reassuring presence. She would read to Chloe in a soft, melodic voice, bringing her special, doctor-approved, sugar-free treats. Chloe, her small body still frail, would lean into Anya's side, listening intently, her eyes bright. "Your stories are better than my daddy's," she whispered one afternoon, a weak but mischievous smile playing on her lips. "Don't tell him I said that." Anya chuckled, a warm, genuine sound. "Your secret's safe with me." Leo watched them, his heart overflowing. He saw the tenderness Anya showed his daughter, the quiet patience, the genuine affection. It was a revelation. He and Anya spoke in hushed tones during Chloe's naps, slowly, carefully sharing their pasts, their vulnerabilities. Leo spoke of his architectural dreams, long buried beneath the weight of grief and responsibility. Anya, in turn, confessed her profound loneliness, the emptiness that success had left in its wake, the constant pressure to be invulnerable. "Thank you, Anya," Leo said one evening, watching Chloe sleep, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved her." Anya met his gaze, her own eyes filled with a quiet understanding. "You saved me too, Leo. From myself." In Chloe's healing, Anya found her own. In their shared vulnerability, a profound connection, stronger than any business deal, began to form. Months passed. Chloe, now vibrant and full of her old energy, was in remission, a whirlwind of laughter and imagination back at the bakery. The Sweet Dreams Bakery itself was thriving, transformed. Anya, true to her word, had offered her business acumen, not for ownership, but for partnership, on Leo's terms. The old cash register had been replaced by a sleek, modern system, and the worn awning with a new one, still hand-painted, but brighter, bolder. New, more elegant pastries, infused with Leo's once-hidden culinary artistry, filled the displays, drawing in new customers and earning rave reviews. Leo, no longer burdened by overwhelming financial stress, baked with a genuine joy that hadn't touched him in years. Anya was often there, not as a CEO, but as a partner, a friend. She helped with marketing, designed a new website, even rolled up her sleeves to help serve during busy hours, delighting Chloe with her accidental messes. "Daddy, Anya says we should make a croissant shaped like a rocket ship," Chloe declared one morning. Leo, now with a constant, easy smile, shook his head playfully. "Anya, are you trying to corrupt my classical training?" Anya winked at Chloe. "Just inspiring innovation, Leo." He would watch Anya, serving customers, laughing with Chloe, her hair sometimes dusted with flour. He felt a profound sense of fulfillment, a second chance at his dream, now shared with this brilliant, kind, utterly unexpected woman. He felt love for Anya, a deep, quiet affection that had blossomed from the ashes of his grief. Anya, in turn, felt a profound happiness, having found her true purpose and a family she chose. She had redefined success on her own terms, a success measured not in billions, but in genuine smiles, shared laughter, and the warmth of a loving home. "You know," Leo said to Anya one busy afternoon, watching Chloe excitedly hand a customer a lemon tart, "this is what Sarah and I always dreamed of, just different." Anya squeezed his arm gently. "Sometimes the best dreams are the ones you never planned for." That evening, the apartment above Sweet Dreams Bakery was bathed in the warm, golden glow of sunset. It was no longer a place of quiet grief, but a home, vibrant and alive, filled with laughter and Chloe's colorful artwork adorning the walls. Leo, Anya, and Chloe sat around their small kitchen table, sharing a simple home-cooked meal. Chloe giggled as Anya, ever the perfectionist, tried to braid her wild curls, tangling them playfully. "Anya, your braids are wiggly," Chloe declared, dissolving into fits of laughter. "Wiggly, but made with love," Anya replied, her own laughter free and open, a sound Leo had never thought he'd hear from her in those early cold days. Leo watched them, his heart overflowing. The bakery downstairs was quiet, but a subtle, welcoming glow from the kitchen lights illuminated the street outside. He felt Anya's hand gently find his beneath the table, her fingers intertwining with his, strong and reassuring. "You know," Leo said, his voice thick with emotion, I always thought my dream died with Sarah, but it just changed. Anya squeezed his hand. Sometimes the best dreams are the ones you never planned for. Chloe, sensing the deep emotion in the air, slid from her chair and wrapped her small arms around both of them, burying her head against their chests. I love you, Daddy. I love you, Anya. Leo closed his eyes, breathing in the scent of Chloe's strawberry shampoo and Anya's subtle, elegant perfume. He felt complete, finally belonging, his once broken heart whole again. Anya leaned her head against Leo's shoulder, a profound peace settling over her. She had found her true place, not at the helm of an empire, but in this small, warm bakery with this kind, principled man and his bright, loving daughter. The once Ice Queen heart was melted, transformed by the warmth of genuine connection. Chloe, oblivious to the complexities that had brought them together, felt secure, loved, and happy, her family unit expanded and stronger than ever. The Sweet Dreams Bakery, once a silent monument to grief, was now a vibrant symbol of hope, love, and a sweet shared future. The camera pulled back slowly, revealing the warm light spilling from the bakery and the apartment above, a beacon in the gentle evening. It was a humble light, but within its glow, a new symphony of love and life had begun to play, a testament to the unexpected ways hearts heal, dreams evolve, and families are truly made.